Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I am Tom. It's our News Digest unit for today. We've got a story to talk about here, all about poaching in Africa here. New efforts are being taken to curb rhino poaching. They have been launched. At least these efforts have. That's the news story for today. And we're talking about rhinos in Africa, which keep getting killed because they want rhino horn, because some people think it's good for treating ailments and stuff like that, or for whatever reasons that we'll get into as our lesson continues.
Oh, so sad. So we are going to read through this entire news story, and then we'll be back to talk about it.
The winning Wildlife Photographer of the Year for 2017, as determined by London's Natural History Museum, was Brent Stearton for his picture Memorial to a Species. It shows a horrific image of a dead black rhino, a bloody wound gaping on its nose where its horn used to be. The picture, taken in South Africa, is a grim reminder of how poachers continue to hunt down these mighty yet endangered creatures to supply the illegal trade in rhino horns. There are two main reasons why people continue to maim and slaughter rhinos and smuggle their horns. The largest markets for the product are in China and particularly Vietnam, where powdered rhino horn is erroneously considered to be a cure for a wide range of illnesses and ailments, from hangovers to cancer. Owning a rhino horn is also seen as a status symbol in some parts of the world, and the horns are made into jewelry as well. Though the various rhino species populations have been slowly increasing thanks to conservation efforts, they are still endangered. Poaching is one of the greatest threats they face. In parts of Africa, hundreds of rhinos are slaughtered every year. They can survive without their horns, but poachers find it easier to remove them if the rhinos are killed first. Poachers who are caught receive severe punishments, but catching them is no easy task. South Africa and Mozambique have recently teamed up in an effort to curb poaching. South Africa's vast Kruger National Park, where roughly 93% of the world's black and white rhinos live, shares a border with Mozambique. Officials from both countries share information, intelligence, and resources to capture poaching gangs. However, the authorities still lack the manpower and resources to keep the park totally secure. Whether more funding and closer cooperation between the countries will ever stop the brutal rhino horn trade for good remains to be seen.
Okay, guys, let's look at the headline first before we dig into the article. It says, new efforts to curb rhino poaching launched. If you curb something, you kind of restrain it. You want to put a stop to it. You want to cut down on what's going on. You want to curb something, so reduce it. Unfortunately, people are getting out there and killing these poor black and white rhinos, which makes me sad, and taking their horns because they can use them for money. They're very, very valuable. If you poach an animal, at least, usually means you're going into an area where it's illegal to be. You're trespassing. So they're going into some of these parks that are trying to be wildlife preserves and take care of these wild animals, and they're illegally going into that area. They're killing them, and they're taking something that isn't theirs. So you're poaching. We use poach sometimes in business. You can poach another company's employees. Say you're Apple and you see someone at Google that you think you'd really like to have working for you at Apple. You can talk to them offer them a huge sum to leave and come and work for you at Apple, you're poaching that employee. They're not yours. You're trying to, go in there and steal them when they're not looking.
Wow, that's like the Chinese term wajiao, which I've been looking for a translation for years. I didn't know that's what we said in English, poaching someone from a company
totally.
Or something like that. I should also mention that poaching is a way to prepare eggs. My daughter likes her eggs poached, which means you kind of cook them in water or steam or something, so the yolk is softer and the egg is in a round shape.
That's good.
As opposed to a flat shape. But in any case here, poaching does refer to killing animals for their body parts for something illegal. Now, the winning wildlife photographer of the year for 2017, as determined by London's Natural History Museum, was Brent Stearton for his picture Memorial to a Species. So that's the title of this picture or of this photograph, Memorial to a Species. We've got the word memorial here. That just means something that is designed to remember somebody or an event, perhaps. Of course, here in Taipei, we've got the Sun Yat-sen Memorial Hall, which is a hall to commemorate all the contributions that Sun Zhongshan, is that his name, made to the Republic of China, etc., etc. It's a memorial hall, and in this particular case, the photo is serving as the memorial to a species, to the black rhino species. Kind of a way to remember them. I guess the black rhino is facing extinction.
Right. It says it shows a horrific image of a dead black rhino, a bloody wound gaping on its nose where its horn used to be. As Tom was reading, I quickly looked up that picture on the internet. It's horrible. Oh my goodness. Horrific just means horrible. It's also an adjective. It means to cause horror or to make you feel just horrible about something. And you can see that poor dead black rhino there in the picture. And where his horn used to be, there's just this huge hole. Gaping means kind of two places that used to be together and now they're split apart. Gaping wound usually refers to some sort of wound on your body where it looks like a big hole is and you'll have to have it stitched up or sewn together. Unfortunately for this rhino, not only his horn was taken, but his life was taken too. They killed that poor rhino to take his horn, which is quite valuable these days.
Indeed, and the picture taken in South Africa is a grim reminder of how poachers continue to hunt down these mighty yet endangered creatures to supply the illegal trade in rhino horns. So we're describing this picture here. First of all, it was taken in South Africa. That's where Brent Stearton took this picture. And this picture is a grim reminder of what these animals are facing. Grim here just means something that you don't really want to face, something kind of scary. It's uninviting. We talk about the death spirit. The grim reaper will come and take you away from life. It's usually a person wearing a black cape and carrying is that a scythe? Is that what that's called?
A scythe, yeah.
A scythe,
yeah.
Okay. The grim reaper. But this is a grim reminder. It's a horrible reminder of how poachers are still out there. We thought we got rid of them. We thought we could protect the rhinos, but no, they are still out there killing these mighty, but they're still endangered. Mighty yet endangered. We have the word yet here as a contrast. They're mighty animals, but still they are endangered, which means all of their species is about to be wiped out. They're almost ready to become extinct.
Right. Right here we've got how they're continuing to be hunted down. So, yeah, if you keep hunting a species that is endangered, it means one day soon you're not going to have any of that animal species left, which means it will be extinct, which would be so, so sad. And what they're doing is they're wanting to supply the illegal trade in rhino horns to some of these other countries. Most of the articles I've seen about this is they talk about how Chinese networks are the ones who are really going after these rhino horns. And they've become very, very sophisticated about getting or smuggling out the horn in different ways. Sometimes they cover it with toothpaste or even wax to kind of hide the scent because you can smell the horn. It actually has a certain smell. Sometimes they make it into jewelry, which we'll talk about. So there are two main reasons why people continue to do this. They're continuing to maim and slaughter rhinos and smuggle their horns. If you maim somebody, you hurt or injure a part of their body. A lot of times we use this word to talk about soldiers who have returned from the war. And if they were maimed in the war, perhaps they lost an arm or a leg. Something's been damaged on them. Here, the way they're maiming them, if they don't kill the rhino, at the very least, they're taking their horn out of their heads. But for the most part, they kill them before they even try to take the horn. You can imagine how difficult it would be to take that horn from a rhino who's still alive and strong, because they could kill a man easily. If you see this word slaughter, it's a horrible verb that means you kill animals for food. Or if we use it to talk about humans, it means we're killing people in a really cruel or violent way, typically in large numbers. Yeah, they were slaughtered. It's a horrible verb. Every time I see it, it makes me go, ooh.
Sometimes you can use it in sports, too, like the Yankees slaughtered the Red Sox.
Yes.
They beat them 10-0 or something like that.
And in that sentence, it's actually quite positive.
Yeah, you would like that. That's why I kind of said that.
I hate the Red Sox.
But lots of people do. But in any case here, they continue to maim them. They cut off their horns and disfigured them, and they slaughter them. They kill them in large numbers. And then they smuggle their horns. To smuggle means to transport something from one country to another illegally. I remember when I first came to Taiwan here, there was the problem of smuggling things from mainland China. They were smuggling like beer or cigarettes. But nowadays, of course, that stuff comes in legally. There's no big problem there. But back then, it was a problem with smuggling. And of course, in the USA, there's a problem of smuggling drugs in from other countries, like from Colombia or Mexico or whatever. They're always trying to get illegal drugs into the USA. So they smuggle the horns to different markets around the world, which we'll get into in just a second, after we take a break now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 我们今天首先来看到在第一段的最后一个句子写着 The picture taken in South Africa is a grim reminder of how poachers continue to hunt down these mighty yet endangered creatures to supply the illegal trade in rhino horns. 首先来看到这个得奖的照片呢，它其实是拍摄在南非，它是一个 grim reminder。Grim 指的是令人沮丧的意思 Reminder 就是提醒人的事物它提醒了我们呢是 how 后面一个名词子句这些呢盗猎者是如何的持续猎取这些强而有力却濒临绝种的生物然后进行着犀牛角的非法交易Endangered 在这里当作形容词指的呢就是濒临绝种的我们最常听到的就是 endangered species 指的也就是濒临绝种的物种
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, everybody, we're going to continue talking about poaching of rhinos, and new efforts have been launched in South Africa and neighboring Mozambique to curb poaching. They're trying to Well, of course, they'd like to put a stop to it, but they know they probably can't. But they're trying to reduce the amount of poaching that goes on. So where we left off, we talked about maiming and slaughtering rhinos and smuggling their horns out of Africa.
Yeah.
And the largest markets for the product, rhino horns, are in China and particularly Vietnam, where powdered rhino horn is erroneously considered to be a cure for a wide range of illnesses and ailments from hangovers to cancer. These are large markets in China and Vietnam, which is not surprising to me. If it's powdered, that means they take the rhino horn and grind it down into powder. And then I guess you can mix that with water or something, and that will cure some illnesses or ailments. An ailment is sort of a medical problem that you might have. An allergy, for example, or maybe Yao Xuan Bei Tong, with sore hips or something and a sore back. And we have a range of illnesses and ailments from hangovers to cancer. A hangover, of course, is when you're feeling kind of sick after a night of drinking. You had too many alcoholic beverages, and the next day, you just can't get out of bed. You feel like throwing up. You got a headache. That's a hangover.
Right. But notice they say the powdered rhino horn is erroneously considered to be a cure. Erroneous is related to the word error, which means a mistake. So they're mistakenly considered to be a cure. They're not really a cure, guys. People have just sort of talked about it and they, sort of believed in the magical power of rhino horns to cure some of these illnesses and ailments. Owning a rhino horn is also seen as a status symbol. If people see that you own a rhino horn, it means, you have money. You can afford to buy one. Wow, you're so powerful. So it's seen as a status symbol in some parts of the world. And the horns are also made into jewelry as well. If you look that up, you can see some of the beaded necklaces that have been fashioned into jewelry from horns. Sometimes they do that to hide the fact that they're smuggling rhino horns out of the country into other countries. Now, though the various rhino species populations have been slowly increasing, that's good. Thanks to conservation efforts, they are still endangered. So we still don't have an overabundance of rhinos. So we're still trying to protect them. Conservation is a noun related to the verb conserve. If you conserve or try to protect something, it means you want that thing to last. You're trying to preserve it, protect it, maybe even restore it. Here, we don't want to lose rhinos entirely. So we're trying to protect them from these awful poachers who are trying to kill them just for their own greed because those horns are so valuable.
Right. Of course, here in Taiwan, there are conservation efforts taking place to try to protect, say, the Formosan black bear or other unique animal species here. People trying to protect them, set up reserves in the mountains or whatever to keep people from hunting them or whatever.
Hunting them, yeah.
But in case here we've got poaching, it's one of the greatest threats they face. Okay, so yes, indeed, the rhinos' populations are slowly coming back, but still poaching is going on, and poaching is still a great threat. And hey, if those people in Vietnam or China hear that the numbers of rhinos are increasing, hey, they might head off to South Africa and try to kill more of them. Hey, there's money to be made in killing rhinos there in Africa. They might get that idea in their heads. Now, in parts of Africa, hundreds of rhinos are slaughtered every year. We're talking hundreds of them. They're slaughtered, they're killed in large numbers every year. And here it says they can survive without their horns. If you cut off a rhino's horn, the rhino can still keep on living, but poachers find it easier to remove them if the rhinos are killed first. And you were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to cut off the horn of a rhino and imagine what the rhino is going to do. It's not going to want that to happen to its body, so it's going to resist, it's going to fight, and these are big, strong animals, and it will take hundreds of people to try to hold them down. they're going to say, what the heck, let's just kill the big beast. It'll be lying there still on the ground. It will be a heck of a lot easier to put a bullet in its brain and then cut off that rhino horn.
Now, poachers who are caught receive severe punishment, so they probably have quite a prison sentence, and they do catch them, but catching them is hard. It's no easy task. So South Africa and Mozambique have recently joined up together, joined efforts, you could say teamed up in an effort to curb poaching. They're working together. South Africa's vast Kruger National Park, that's a very famous park. It's vast because it's huge. There's a lot of land to it. It takes up a lot of acreage. Now, that's where roughly 93% of the world's black and white rhinos live. So that's where most of the world's rhinos exist. They share a border with Mozambique. So that national park is right up there next to Mozambique. So officials from both countries, they try to help each other. Like countries share information about terrorism and terrorists, they're sharing information about poachers. That's one of their big problems. They share intelligence. So they've got people gathering information. That would be the intelligence that they're gathering. And resources. Resources might be the people that they hire to be watching those particular areas of the countries we're talking about and seeing if they can catch any of these poachers in action. Hopefully they do. That makes me so angry. They're trying to capture poaching gangs. We often use that word gang to talk about a group of people doing illegal things, and that's certainly what they're doing.
Yeah, the word gang usually refers to a group of people who are up to no good. Criminal gangs or the mafia or something like that. Those are gangs. These are poaching gangs, and they're trying to capture them, but again, it's pretty difficult to do. And it goes on to say here, however, the authorities, the people in charge, still lack the manpower and resources to keep the park totally secure. Yes, it's a big park, and poachers can go in there. They can pretend that they're tourists or something. Hey, we're just going in to check out the wildlife here.
Right.
And they hide rifles or whatever in their cars or something, and they probably don't have the manpower. They don't have enough people to check every car to make sure they're not bringing weapons into the park. So they lack that manpower. They just don't have enough people to keep the park secure. Secure here just means safe and protected.
Yeah, maybe they should build a wall around the park.
There you go. They should talk to Donald Trump on how to build a wall. Yeah,
if you keep something secure, it's safe. And hopefully they can find a way that will help protect these poor rhinos from these poachers. It makes me crazy. Now, whether more funding and closer cooperation between the countries will ever stop the brutal rhino horn trade for good remains to be seen. So if they get more funding, it might help. Cooperation just refers to groups of people working together to accomplish the same goal or a similar cause. Brutal is a word we use when we're talking about really violent actions where no mercy is shown. Something that's very harsh, really savage, really violent. And that's what this trade is. It's very violent because they're oh my goodness, if you just look at one of those pictures, especially memorial to a species, you'll just be disgusted by what you see. Makes me sad. These animals have really no other way to protect themselves except by the use of their horn. So even if they don't kill them and they do remove their horns, they can no longer protect themselves at all.
Indeed. So hopefully they'll put a stop to this poaching or at least reduce it. And maybe those people in Vietnam or China should realize that that's really stupid. Getting that rhino horn to show off your wealth or something like that. Please grow up. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
在第二段的第二个句子提到 The largest markets for the product are in China and particularly Vietnam, where powdered rhino horn is erroneously considered to be a cure for a wide range of illnesses and ailments, from hangovers to cancer. 在这里提到呢，犀牛角的最大市场是在中国跟越南，后面有一个地方副词 where 所引导的另外一个句子，在这两个国家呢 powdered rhino horn powdered rhino horn 指的呢就是磨成粉状的犀牛角， powdered 也就是有粉末状的意思，像是糖粉就可以说 powdered sugar。而这些磨成粉末的犀牛角呢，它们被错误的被认为是可以用来治疗许多疾病跟病痛。 illness 是疾病， ailment 也是疾病的意思。举个例子来说， He got timely treatment for his ailment 指的就是他的病得到了及时的治疗，而这些病症从宿醉到癌症，通通都有人相信犀牛角粉是有效的。第三段的第一句提到 Though the various rhino species populations have been slowly increasing thanks to conservation efforts, they are still endangered. 在这里提到，虽然呢不同种类的犀牛种数已经慢慢的增加， thanks to 多亏于，要感谢这些保育的努力。Conservation 指的呢是对自然资源的保护或者是管理。我们常说对自然资源的保护呢，是保证我们将来可以有足够能源的一种方法。我们就可以说 Conservation is one way to make sure we have enough energy in the future. 所以我们也要保护这些犀牛。在第四段第一个句子提到South Africa and Mozambique have recently teamed up in an effort to curb poaching. 南非跟莫桑比克呢，近来已经开始合作，要致力于抑制非法的盗猎。在这里的 team up 也就是有合作的意思， to team up with somebody 就是有跟某人合作的意思，而 curb 则是有遏制或者是控制的意思。Measures have been taken to curb inflation 指的就是已经有采取措施来抑制通货膨胀。而在这两个国家他们的努力之下呢，你会发现他们可以互相的分享资讯、情报跟资源。所以在最后一段中间提到 Officials from both countries share information, intelligence, and resources to capture poaching gangs. 这些人一起合作来捕捉盗猎的集团。在这里 gang 指的特别是歹徒的一帮或一群，像我们说的 a gang of criminals 就是一群犯罪的人， a gangster 则是指单一的一个帮派分子。今天文章的最后一句提到 Whether more funding and closer cooperation between the countries will ever stop the brutal rhino horn trade for good remains to be seen. 这个句子很长，我们的主词呢是由 whether 所引导的一个名词子句，从 whether 开始一直到 for good， 这是一个主词，动词是 remains， 这一切呢都有待观察。而主词的内容则是提到 whether 是否会有更多的 funding 资助，或者是 closer cooperation 更密切的合作，能不能够呢永久的来遏制犀牛角的交易，这件事情仍有待观察。而这里的 brutal 则是形容词，有残忍粗暴的意思， for good 则是副词，代表永久的意思。 OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
Okay, everybody, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And please, we beg you, we beseech you, please join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.